Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijayacharya Ashtoto the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivijayacharya Ashtoto the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the 17th day of March, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HG Dravida Dasa. And we are in Canto 8, Chapter 5, text number 23. And the board is not here, so... Just now coming? It's not coming. So, do you have a cell phone you can look at? Anyway, do the best you can. Okay. Ayam cha tasya stiti palana chanaha sattvam tushanasya pavaya dehinam tasmad vajamaha sharanam jagadgurum svanam sano dasyati sham surapriyaha. Got something there you can look at? 8, 5, 13. 23. 8, 5, 23. Yeah, 23. 8, 5, 23. Sorry. Sureshwar, you can chant in your mind. That way if you make a mistake, no one will know. You ready? 23. Okay. Here we go. Ayam chatasya stiti palanachana sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam tasmad vajama sharanam jagadgurum svanang sanodhasyati shangsura priyaha. Ayam chatasya stiti palanakshana sattvam dushanasya bhavaya dehinam tasmad vajama sharanam jagadgurum svanang sanodhasyati shangsura priyaha. Ayam chatasya stiti palanakshana sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam tasman vajama sharanam jagadgurum svanang sanodhasyati shangsura priyaha. Ayam chatasya stiti palanakshana sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam tasman vajama sharanam jagadgurum svanang sanodhasyati shangsura priyaha. Ayam chatasya stiti palanakshana sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam tasman vajama sharanam jagadgurum Svanang sanodhastati sangsorapriyaha. Ayang chatasya stitipalanakshana. Sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam. Thank you. Vanchajamak sharanam jagadgurum. Svanang sanodhastati sangsorapriyaha. Anyone online? Vijay?
Ayam chatasya stitipalana shana.
Ayang chatasya stitipalanakshana.
Sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam.
Sattvam dushanasya bhavaya dehinam.
Tasmad vrajama sharanam jagadgurum.
Tasmad vajamak sharanam jagadgurum.
Svanam sano dasyatisham surapriyaha.
Svanam sanodhastati sangsorapriyaha. Word by words. Ayang chatasya stitipalanakshana.
Sattvam jushanasya bhavaya dehinam.
Sattvam dushanasya bhavaya dehinam.
Tasmat brajamaha sharanam jagadgurum.
Tasman vajama sharanam jagadgurum.
Shanam shanodashyati samshura priya.
Svanang sanodhastati sangsorapriyaha. Ayam, this period. Cha, also. Tasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Stiti palanakshanaha, the time for maintenance or for establishing his rule. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Jushanasya, accepting, now without waiting. Bhavaya, for the increased development or establishment. Dehinam, of all living entities who accept material bodies. Tasmat, therefore. Vajamaha, let us take. Sharanam, shelter. Jagat Gurum, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the universal teacher. Svanam, his own persons. Saha, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Naha, unto us. Dasyati, will give. Sham, the good fortune we need. Sodapriyaha, because he is naturally very dear to the devotees. Translation. Now is the time to invoke the mode of goodness of the living entities who have accepted material bodies. The mode of goodness is meant to establish the Supreme Lord's rule, which will maintain the existence of the creation. Therefore, this is the opportune moment to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he is naturally very kind and dear to the demigods, he will certainly bestow good fortune upon us. Purport. The material world is conducted by the three modes of nature, namely Sattva Gun, Rajogun, and Tamoguna. By Rajoguna, everything material is created. By Sattva Guna, everything material is maintained properly. And by Tamoguna, when the creation is improperly situated, everything is destroyed. From this verse, we can understand the situation of Kali-yuga, through which we are now passing. Just before the beginning of Kali-yuga, or in other words, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, Lord Sri Krishna appeared and left his instructions in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, in which he asked all living entities to surrender unto him. Since the beginning of Kali-yuga, however, people have practically been unable to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. And therefore, after some 5,000 years, Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just to teach the entire world how to surrender unto him, unto Sri Krishna, and thus be purified. Surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna means achieving complete purification. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 1866, you can repeat, Sarva dharman parityaja, mamekang sharanam vraja, aham tvang sarva papebhyo, mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Close quote. Thus, as soon as one surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, one certainly becomes free from all contamination. Kali-yuga is full of contamination. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51. Kalu-dosha nide rajan asti eko mahan gunaha kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. This age of Kali is full of unlimited faults. Indeed, it is just like an ocean of faults, dosha nidhi. But there is one chance, one opportunity, kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, one can be freed from the contamination of Kali-yuga, and in his original spiritual body can return home back to Godhead. This is the opportunity of Kali-yuga. When Krishna appeared, he gave his orders, and when Krishna himself appeared as a devotee, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed us the path by which to cross the ocean of Kali-yuga. That is the path of the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he ushered in the era for the Sankirtan movement. It is also said that for 10,000 years, this era will continue. This means that simply by accepting the Sankirtan movement and chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, the fallen souls of this Kali-yuga will be delivered. After the battle of Kurukshetra, at which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Kali-yuga continues for 432,000 years, of which only 5,000 years have passed. Thus there is still a balance of 427,000 years to come. Of these 427,000 years, the 10,000 years of the Sankirtan movement, inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, provide the opportunity for the fallen souls of Kali-yuga to take to the Krishna consciousness movement, chant the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, and thus be delivered from the clutches of material existence and return home back to Godhead. Chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra is potent always, but it is especially potent in the age of Kali. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami, while instructing Maharaj Parikshit, stressed this chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra. And he quotes again, Kalir doshanide rajan asti eko mahan guna kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha param bhajet. My dear king, although Kali-yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. It is that simply by chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, one can become free from all material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Bhagavatam 12.351. Those who have accepted the task of spreading the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra in full Krishna consciousness should take this opportunity to deliver people very easily from the clutches of material existence. Our duty, therefore, is to follow the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and preach the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world very sincerely. This is the best welfare activity for the peace and prosperity of human society. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement consists of spreading the Krishna Sankirtan. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Why is it so glorious? This has also been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaito Darpanamarjanam. By the chanting of the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, one's heart is cleansed. The whole difficulty is that in this age of Kali, there is no sattva guna and no clearance of the heart, and therefore people are making the mistake of identifying with their bodies. Even the big philosophers and scientists with whom we deal are practically all under the impression that they are their bodies. The other day we were discussing a prominent philosopher, Thomas Huxley, who was proud of being an Englishman. This means that he was in the bodily conception of life. Everywhere we find this same misunderstanding. As soon as one is in the bodily conception of life, one is nothing but an animal like a cat or a dog. Saeva Gokaraha. Thus, the most dangerous of the dirty things within our hearts is this misidentification of the body as the self. Under the influence of this misunderstanding, one thinks, I am this body, I am an Englishman, I am an Indian, I am an American, I am Hindu, I am Muslim. This misconception is the strongest impediment, and it must be removed. That is the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita and of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, the Bhagavad Gita begins with this instruction. Dehi nosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhira tattanamuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The sober person is not bewildered by such a change. That was what Prabhupada originally said. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. Although the soul is within the body, nevertheless, because of misunderstanding and animal propensities, one accepts the body as the self. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Chaito Darpanamarjanam. To cleanse the core of the heart, which is full of misunderstanding, is possible only through Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement should very seriously take this opportunity to be kind to the fallen souls by delivering them from the misunderstanding of materialistic life. One cannot be happy in any way within this material world. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8.16, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartinojana. From the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. Close quote. Therefore, not to speak of going to the moon, even if one is promoted to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, there cannot be any happiness in this material world. If one actually wants happiness, one must go to the spiritual world. The material world is characterized by a struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest is a well-known principle. But the poor souls of this material world do not know what is survival and who is fit. Survival does not mean that one should die. Survival means that one should not die, but should enjoy an everlastingly blissful life of knowledge. This is survival. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to make every person fit for survival. Indeed, it is meant to stop the struggle for existence. The Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita give definite directions on how to stop the struggle for existence and how to survive in eternal life. The Sankirtan movement, therefore, is a great opportunity. Simply by hearing the Bhagavad Gita and chanting the Hare Kṛṣṇa Maha Mantra, one becomes completely purified. Thus the struggle for existence ceases and one goes back home, back to Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, quite a seminal purport there. Srila Prabhupada has given us so much here. And what's the context? Well, hold on a second. This is Brahma speaking, isn't it? I believe. And demigods have been defeated by the demons. They're in trouble. And so they go to Brahma. And Brahma has gone to the Supreme Lord and meditated, I think, hasn't he? Has he yet? Or is he? They're all going to go. Yeah. And so this is what classically happens at the beginning of the Krishna book, the beginning of the 10th canto. You'll find a similar situation where Bhumi herself is very much distressed because of the load of too many demons on her body. And so with tears in her eyes, she goes to the demigods, other demigods, they all go to Brahma. And then Brahma then takes them to the shore of the ocean of milk, meditates, and he gets a message transmission that Krishna will soon come. And the demigods should then take birth in the family of Nanda Maharaj and like that, the Yadu dynasty. Prepare. So this is the repeatedly happens in the material world, especially at the dawn of Kali-yuga, or as the yugas wind down from the Satya through the Treta and the Dwapara and then finally Kali. Things get more contaminated, which means more dominated by the lower modes of nature. And sometimes the demons become ascendant. We read that in the Bhagavatam, where they take over and the demigods are scattered and they pray for an incarnation. And so this is what it means to be in the material world. And in this age especially, we find that the mode of passion and ignorance are very much dominant. As Prabhupada says, there's no mode of satya, or sattva, practically. And so what to do? So the Lord came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And unlike Krishna, Prabhupada sometimes makes a distinction, because he is Krishna, but when he appeared as Krishna and he spoke to Bhagavad Gita, then at the end he commanded, Arjuna, Sarva Dharma Parityajya Mamekam Saranam Vraja. He commanded everybody, surrender unto me, and I will protect you from all sinful reactions, that you will be purified. That's the idea. And the previous verse is, think of me, become devoted, worship me, bow down, and you'll certainly come to me. But Lord Chaitanya doesn't even demand that. You know, he just says, "Come, join the party, the chanting party, Hare Kṛṣṇa." You know, you don't need any philosophy actually at first. That comes later. And if someone is drawn into it, and we saw him, you know, perfectly during the first 24 years when he was in Navadvip, basically, and preaching, and basically just chanted. He just chanted, and everyone came out. The first big chanting party came after the Kazi responded to the other Hindus, you know, the smarta Brahmins who were complaining that Lord Chaitanya was degrading, you know, the Hindu Dharma, whatever, you know. So he came, he broke a Madanga drum famously, you know, they tried to suppress the kirtan. And when Lord Chaitanya heard about it, he said, okay, probably said, first civil disobedience. And he said, oh, everyone come out in the evening and bring a torch. We're going to have a huge Harinam in the street. Usually they had it inside, otherwise it was hidden away in Shivas Angan. If you go to Mayapur, you'll hear about Shivas Angan, which simply means the home and the compound of Shivas. And all the devotees gathered there, Advaita would come down, and they would be crying and go all night, you know. But it wasn't open to everybody. Some Brahmin wanted to get in, see the dancing, and you couldn't get in, and he cursed Lord Chaitanya not to have any material happiness, and he thanked him for that. That was the curse. But then this was a big public kirtan, and thousands came out into the streets, you know, and the Kazi had his guard there. He had some soldiers with the beards, and they had their weapons. When they came out, they wanted to hide their beards. They were afraid because nobody was responding to them. Everyone was in ecstasy, you know. They saw them, they just kept dancing and chanting. They didn't have any, so they were afraid. Anyway, he gets to the Kazi's house, and there's a famous talk there. It's recorded in the CC. And the Kazi ends up saying, okay, and when you go to Mayapur for the first time, this is one of the things you remember, that he gave the injunction that in future generations, the Sankirtan movement should never be impeded in Navadvip, in Mayapur, you see. So that's been followed, of course. So this is what Prabhupada came to give. He came to take it out of India. Lord Chaitanya went all over India, you know, South India and Vrindavan, of course, made so many disciples, but it was India. It didn't go to China, you know. It certainly didn't go to America, you know. What was there in America? The original Indians, the Native Americans. So, but Bhaktisiddhanta took the prediction of Lord Chaitanya very seriously. That priti vidyayati yati nagaradi gram sarvata pracharho imbornam. That this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavatam. It's a little different there, but this is the way Prabhupada would always quote it. That throughout the world, priti vidya means throughout the world, not just throughout India. Throughout the whole world, in all the towns and the villages, every town and village, my name will resound. Now it's taken to be that, okay, it's not that they're all going to just chant the Panchatattva mantra. My name, Lord Chaitanya is speaking as Krishna. My name, Krishna, will resound. Hare Kṛṣṇa will resound, plus the Panchatattva mantra. So, but that wasn't happening. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati encouraged Prabhupada to do that. You know, just like a few weeks before Bhaktisiddhanta departed, Prabhupada wrote him a letter. Because he was still in household life, he was doing what he could for the local Gaudiya Math and everything, but he wanted to get special instruction because he saw all of his sannyasi disciples traveling everywhere, spreading throughout India. So he wrote, how can I serve you? So he gave him the same instruction again, you know, to preach in English and to preach abroad. which he had already tried to do. He had sent some devotees to England, but they couldn't do much. So that was the final instruction. It was the same as the first instruction when Prabhupada first met Prabhupada in Bhaktisiddhanta in 1922. And so it took him a while, but he was still a householder, you know. And he had this whole thing in Jhansi going. If you read the Lilamrita, it's fascinating, you know. He was a very effective preacher, and he inspired one of the big people in Jhansi to give him the use of this building that became the center. And he had a disciple. His first disciple was made. Does anyone remember? Acharya Prabhakar. And my understanding is that Acharya Prabhakar was well good in Sanskrit, and he helped Prabhupada to become more expert in Sanskrit. So very significant. But then the governor's wife or something wanted to use the building for the ladies' auxiliary, you know, it's everything. So Prabhupada didn't own it, and so he was expelled from there. So anyway, then he went to Vrindavan and he began to just writing books there because he knew he had to have that, still distributing back to Godhead, you know, alone and everything. But then he was advised that these Bhakti Gathas are great, but they're not permanent. You know, they're just a little paper. It was on newsprint at that time. You should write a book. So Prabhupada launched into writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Just imagine, I mean, I worked with a team in putting the Bhagavatam together. And we had, of course, electronic, computerized setting. You know, now it's desktop. There it wasn't desktop, but we had computers. And still it was a big production. It was like a bunch of us doing it. And it took years to finish the Bhagavatam. The last, the 10th canto, 11th canto. But Prabhupada undertook it on his own. In like 4 years, he did 3 books. He was able to print 3 books. You know, he didn't have any money, so with the first one got printed, he used that to get money from others to, you know, like that. So finally, he had the books, and it was coming, and it was all part of the same idea that he's giving in this purport, is that he felt impelled to be the agent of Lord Chaitanya and the agent of his spiritual master, in trying as best he could to spread this process of chanting the holy name and the process of bhakti in general and the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, if possible, far and wide, out of India. It's like, you know, imagine, you know, if you're going to Africa to spread, you know, something, and it's you don't even know what you're going to find there, you know, or some other foreign country. And to go with no real contacts and no money, you know, it's very brave, very courageous. But he felt impelled to do it, and he felt empowered to do it, and he was empowered to do it, in spite of all the difficulties. So in this this wonderful verse and purport here, now is the time to invoke the mode of goodness of the living entities who have accepted material bodies. So it's always that time. You know, and it's always a problem. That's what it means to be in the material world. It means conditioned and always affected by the modes of nature. Even if you happen to be, attracted to the mode of goodness, read the Bhagavad Gita. It's always mixed. It's always mixed. Pure goodness is the state of the Vasudeva state in which Vasudeva appears. That's in the spiritual world. But there's some goodness here that can be invoked, and my experience over the years, and it was true for me, that I really didn't become interested in all this stuff until I became a vegetarian. I didn't become a vegetarian because I was practicing Hare Kṛṣṇa. I did it for health reasons. But that, you know, that's why meat eating is so horrible, because if you just eat meat, even if you don't know anything, you'll be less inclined, just be less receptive to the spiritual message. It's the nature of the whole thing. So that's what we learn here. That we're living in this Kali-yuga, and we should feel ourselves to be agents of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, and through the service to our spiritual master, who is, you know, trying as hard as possible to preach this message. We're serving Krishna, we're serving the mission, we're serving all the living entities. In other words, we're in a constitutional position. Constitutional position is to be servants. I was reading this book called the Dharma, the Way of Transcendence. Somehow I got on a mailing list. There's this one, I don't even know who she is, some female devotee, ISKCON devotee, who's taking excerpts from the book and just sending them out to whoever's on the list. And basically that book is the second chapter that Prabhupada would quote from all the time of the Bhagavatam, first canto. What is Dharma? You know, if you recall, Arjuna was impelled when he surrendered to Krishna as a disciple rather than the friendly talks, which weren't getting anywhere. You know, he was arguing with Krishna. It was all, one of the main things was he said, I'm confused about my Dharma. What is my duty now? What should I do? What is the right thing for me to do to attain the best result for myself and everyone else? So that's the question at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the sages in Naimisharanya. What is that Dharma by which the living entity can actually be happy? You know, and that famous verse that is given by Sutta Goswami, having heard the Bhagavatam, it's there, and now he's recorded in Bhagavatam, is Savai Pung Sang Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hokchaje Ahoitukya Pratayata Hiyatma Supasiditi. By which the Atma can become completely happy. Here is the supreme Dharma. And it's, you know, no mystery to us, it's Bhakti, to Adhokshaja, which has to be unmotivated, not unmotivated, we're also motivated, not materially motivated, and constant. That standard of Bhakti, loving devotional service to Krishna, will satisfy the soul, you see. But how to get to that, you know. So he goes through, and there's these verses are so important. And he describes how it's the hearing. First of all, he says real devotion to Vasudeva, to Krishna, will automatically invoke detachment and knowledge. That's not true of any other so-called religion, because it's the power, it's the blessing of Vasudeva, of Krishna himself, of God himself. When he understands this soul is practicing sincere devotional service unto me. And so he will give us knowledge, he will give us detachment. And we can experience that. If you become serious about chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa and you're associating with devotees and you're chanting, then automatically your attraction or obsession or addiction to material so-called happiness, which is keeping us bound here, becomes slackened. And the more that you practice and the more you associate, then it can come down to the point of nil. And so that jnana and vairagya are essential foundations of actual bhakti. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava bhakti nishtam. This is the last line of a verse I learned from Mahavishnu Swami. And he's saying that dehishti mangsududide mimatam chajasva. This body is simply filled with blood and bone and things like that. So don't be attached to it. Abhimatam chajasva. Give up your attachment to it. And he says, Jaya sutadisha sadama matam vimuncha. Give up your sense of ownership and proprietorship for the wife and the family and the kids and the bank balance and all these things. Jaya sutadi means the wife, etc. It expands from a wife, you know. That's in the Bhagavatam also. And always see, pashyani sam jagadidam chanabhangadishtam, that this whole universe, your whole little corner of universe, is subject to destruction at any moment. Everything is very tenuous. And especially today, you know, with, oh my God, you know, all these bombs everywhere and the pandemics, they're closing down. We already had the scare with the pandemic. It was like, you know, I've never had anything like that before. But you can see how tenuous things are. So we should see that. That's in, you know, at every moment. What is that? Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. There's danger at every step. But if you take shelter of the abode of the lotus feet of Krishna, then you can cross over this ocean of dangers. You see? So this is all, you know, standard Krishna conscious philosophy. But people don't know this, and therefore Spreading this message, spreading the chanting, reaching out, supporting a temple, an oasis where people can come, take prasadam, take darshan, take association, you know, and we can be channels or agents for the mercy and the knowledge and the blessings of the Lord and our spiritual masters. So this whole purport is like that. And Prabhupada makes the point again and again how the Kali-yuga is an ocean of faults. We don't have to be convinced of that. You know, even if you don't read the newspapers, you can understand. It's just, I've been, you know, let's say 65 years at least that I've been aware of what, you know, what's going on. I've been reading newspapers. I'm aware, you know, before I 7 years old, I didn't know anything. But there's always been some war or threatening of war, of disaster. I mean, I grew up having nightmares about atom bombs blowing up, you know. In the movies, they'd show, you know, they'd have news and they'd show the hydrogen bombs. Russia blew up a hydrogen bomb, the biggest one yet, you know. Oh my God, look at that. And then, you know, and who's controlling it? The demons. You've got to balance the power. One demon, another. If I blow him up, he'll be able to blow me up. So that's the only thing that's kept him from flying. But the thing is you get crazier and crazier. The internet can make you crazy, because you can tune in. You can go down any rabbit hole you want. You know, before there was like 3 or 4 TV stations with you know, CBS News, ABC News. They're still around. You know, but people don't watch them anymore. You know, the internet is so developed, you can get into your own thing and be your misconception. You just find those apps or those sections that reinforce that, and so you become completely. You have a completely distorted view of reality, more than even just ordinary Maya. So this is the nature of it. But so what can combat that? Real information. That's why book distribution is so important. But also, you know, through the media, you know, the Zoom calls and so many wonderful kirtans you can find, you know, right on the internet if you look for it. And so Prabhupada said, yes, we got to use everything. You know, airplanes, even said missiles. I don't know what he had in mind with that, but it's in the books. But certainly the opportunity now, you know, the opportunity to take this knowledge out, to speak it to people, to try to expand, and you know, the only thing that can really save this world is Krishna consciousness. It just seems so doomed. I mean, just the weather, the climate has changed so much, you know, and the terrific storms they just had, where, you know, there was like 100 houses were destroyed, 78 people were killed. I forget where it was. It's happening all the time. So this is the age we live in, and there's an urgency to it. So for us to become Krishna conscious, to become sincere givers of this knowledge and the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra, which is being stressed so much in this purport, that's really the invaluable medicine, the counteraction of all of this. These lower modes of nature and all this ignorance. It helps clean the soul and makes you more interested in Krishna. Maybe what is this mantra? How does this work? You know, I've been chanting this, and so let me go find out. Let me visit the temple, and let me open that book that I got 6 months ago, and now it's been on my shelf. You know. So we should chant very seriously and concentrate and try to give the chanting to others and the knowledge, invite them, and in this way perfect our own lives and help others to come into the loving embrace of the Hare Kṛṣṇa movement so that they can be saved. That's basically what I get from this purport and verse. And we're going to now launch in with the, I think it's the churning of the ocean, and also I think Vamanadev appears in this canto. And so this is, because he's going through different yugas, different manvantras. It's very historic. And don't be surprised, you may become a little confused. There is sometimes a conflation with the manvantara avatars and the manus. The Manvantara avatars are actually Vishnu Tattva, and like Vamana is one of them. And they work with the Manus in running the world during the Manvantara avatars. And the demigods, of course, Indra, like that. But the Manus and the Manvantara avatars are different. Manvantara simply means the time in which a certain Manu rules. And it's a long time. We're in Vaivasvata Manu. And who is the Manvantara avatar? I think it is Vamanadev. Okay, any questions on any of this or discussion?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you wait? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the class. It says in the purport, those who have accepted the task of spreading the Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra in full Krishna consciousness should take his opportunity to deliver people very easily from the clutches of material existence. And my question is, it says very easily, but many devotees go like in book distribution, they go in Harinam. They've seen us there like for years and years walking, like devotees living here. And it looks like instead of very easily, it looks
not
like
so easy. Yeah.
it's very hard. Can you explain why it says very easily?
Well, it's very easy if we can somehow get people to take up the chanting and read the books. In other words, compared to the previous ages, it's super easy. I mean, Lord Chaitanya, basically he just went chanted and danced, and people were attracted, and they joined the kirtan, and they became ecstatic, because the potency was there. So we don't have that potency, but we can still do our best to attract people to take a book and learn, come to the temple, chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, and so relative to what it was before. Satya Yuga had to meditate for 75,000 years. I don't think we'll get many people to try that. But they may try the chanting, and they may come and join the kirtan. So Prabhupada says right in the first canto earlier that it's easy for the novices, who are just on the threshold of the house of Bhakti. You think he puts it like that. And it's more involved for the those who are experienced. But the point is, no matter what state you're in, how far along you are, it's feasible to continue the practice and perfect it. You can see a path even for us, that there's a way to do it. It depends on our sincerity, our determination, and our willingness to give up the impediments that we're still hanging on to, and to accept those things that are, we're reluctant to accept. But the point is, it's feasible, and we see it works. We've seen actually so many devotees who passed away successfully. You hear about. I remember there's this devotee. What was his name? Nirguna. He was one of the early book distributors. I think he was distributing in places like North Carolina and the East Coast. And I met him several times, very nice devotee. And then we heard, he's got terminal something, he's in Mayapur. And, they reported, yes, he's in good consciousness, even though, he's got this terminal thing, and devotees would visit him and chant and so forth. And he left successfully. He wasn't in agony, he wasn't confused, and there was many devotees like that. We've had devotees here who've left. So that's important for us to see, that even from just ordinary Americans or Westerners, that we can progress to the state. And I always thought it was like this: if you're in the right environment, if you're with devotees, especially in the Dham, or at least in one of the Dhams that Prabhupada created, then you can make so much advancement during that time, when you're faced with, what we all know we have to be faced with, but the devotees are helping you, and you have kirtan playing all the time, and you can. I mean, I was there. I remember certain devotees. I won't give any names, where they were just very peaceful. It wasn't, because I saw, I had the experience, Krishna gave me this experience of a year working in a hospital as an inhalation guy, so I would go, and if people were having, terminal, I would be right there. I'd see a lot of people die. And it's just so, it really breaks your heart to see some of these people, they're suffering so much. They're terrified because they may have seen, the Yamadutas and the dogs and the threatening, that comes too. The nurses will say, yes, that's terminal restlessness. They just think of it as an hallucination. So they sedate, that's their answer, sedate people. So that's the worst thing. The worst thing is to be unconscious. But by contrast, devotees are often very peaceful, they're accepting it. I mean, I wasn't able to be there at Rajendranandana's side. I had this incredible, serious sprained ankle, and he was living upstairs, and I couldn't visit him. We talked on the phone sometimes. But from all accounts, he was really ready. He had spent, for years, he would visit Mayapur every year and spend months, during this festival season in the spring and summer. And he had good association there. And he was, by all accounts, very, very peaceful and accepting. And there's this one account I heard, some have heard of it. He had a business partner, and he would travel and visit fairs and things and sell, stuff and support his family. His wife is still here. He had a son and an apartment. But but come festival season, like now, he would go to Mayapur weeks before, Gaur Purnima. And of course, he would go on the Parakram, and he became very learned about, what was what and what was that, and he would speak. And he was also learning from Jananivas, who's one of the twins there. His brother passed away during COVID, Pankajangri. But anyway, he was very serious about studying, the Shastra and learning and practicing. And by all accounts, it was. And so he was there with his business partner, who was also a devotee, and Rajendranandana asked him, who else is here? If the place is crowded, and so he says, no, it's just two of us here. So his friend, I forget his name, he said, are they the good people? He says, yes. He was ready to go back. Same thing with Shamali. Well, we all knew Shamali, beloved son, daughter of Yamunapati and Parashakti. So anyway, that's encouraging. It means that even from our own peers, if you have the right environment and you practice and you're serious, then you can leave successfully, and that's really what it's all about. Because I'm suddenly now it's 3 years later, and hey, I don't know how long I have. I got to get real serious, increase my rounds and whatever I do. But you want to have the feeling that you help move everything forward, that you somehow helped others to become Krishna conscious, that you did your whatever part you could do for the spreading of the Krishna conscious movement. That's very important, because there's no better way to please Krishna, as he says right in the Bhagavad Gita, and as Prabhupada is encouraging all of us here. So we have a great responsibility, but we also have a great opportunity, and they go together. The more that we can feel ourselves becoming purified, which is very simple to measure. If you're more attracted to Krishna and everything related to him, the holy name and the practice and preaching and devotees and the books and everything, and less and less attracted to Maya things, then that's you don't need. No one has to give you a certificate. So we all have that opportunity. We're very fortunate, and we should make as many other people as fortunate as possible. Okay, you had a question or a comment.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, thank you.
Hare Kṛṣṇa.
I have a question and comment together. I see that Srila Prabhupada a few times mentioned this verse Chatadarpana Marjanam, that the only way how to cleanse our heart. Yeah. And also he a few times speaks that prize Kali-yuga that has, he cited this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Kila dosha nirarati.
Yeah. That this like big opportunity in this time of miseries, struggling, etc., etc.
It's an ocean of faults.
Yeah, ocean of faults. Yeah, it's like we can see ocean is so big,
dosha
and only faults. And but this Mahamantra, chanting Mahamantra, everything like cure.
Yeah, it can counteract it.
Yeah, and also he a few times told in this purport that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established Sankirtana chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa Mahamantra, congregational chanting, and this is a method.
It is, yes. For this age,
collective, assemble together and chanting. And I see that unfortunately not everyone understands it. I mean, in devotion, like society, and everyone.
Well, this is a great opportunity for you, Prabhu. Let us know.
And also, how I see is that this is answers the question of Matthias Prabhu, that exactly when we, like also Srila Prabhupada stressed this, that when we spread this chanting, then we will be safe, because of if we try to save other ways, it's not possible. This the main thing that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very merciful, but when he see us involved in this chanting and distribution of this chanting, then he gives energy, gives protection, everything gives. Yeah. But if we hide in temple and try to make kirtans before deities, then Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upset. And so the question is that I see that this is not only here, it's everywhere. I traveled a lot. And everywhere is that very rare who understands that exactly congregational chanting on the streets, this is like method.
Yeah.
Many times, in different temples, they, by different excuse, try to or dismiss it or diminish. Or
well, we have our work cut out for us, and that is to try to show by example how we can be effective and preach about it. But yeah, it's I'm not going to try to analyze why that happened, because I was there at the beginning, early enough in '73 when it was understood 3 hours a day. We would go out. We'd have Maha Harinams on Saturday night, 100 devotees out in Central Park. When I joined, I had this flute that I was playing. It was a professional flute. It was like and I would go out and play that. And then I forgot I was in New York City, so I got up to do something, came back, and someone had taken it. But then when I moved to Miami a few years later, I said, I should get another flute, So I looked in this magazine. Now it's everything online, but there's a magazine, and it looked like my identical flute. Maybe it came down here. So I went to there, and I went out in the night to the house where the guy was in. And he had for sale the flute and a gun. So I bought the flute. I hoped he wasn't going to pick up the gun, and I still have it. But it's that was is a central part, and it's some you think I think in London they do a lot of Harinam. There's certain temples that do it, and one thing they have in Alachua, they do a lot of Rath Yatras in northern Florida, and that's good. The planning and the whole thing. So, and if I remember, every week everyone would go out to the campus, and do Harinam. So it's you're right, and to maintain that culture is a challenge, but it's very important to do it, because without that, we're not going to attract new people, and the people that we have won't be as enlivened to keep going. So I agree with you.
Like Indra Prabhu told that these books distribution, it means to encourage people to chant. This book speaks, Srila Prabhupada so many times speaks about this chanting. Yeah. And this purport few times.
And it's interesting, the last chapter of the Krishna book, you read it, he quotes the Hare Kṛṣṇa mantra in there 4 or 5 times in the last few pages. All right, listen, we got to get going. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Hare.